after the bench, how would you select your supplemental exercises? And then how were they trained? Because let me step back a little bit, because you spoke of specificity. Mm-hmm. Okay, so specificity can be, there's a lot of ways to look at specificity. You can look at specificity of the actual movement, but you can break down the specificity to time under tension, the amount of time somebody takes to strain.
Well, I'm gonna keep it right where it should be.
Okay.
And you caught me red-handed, Dave. I tried to make my supplemental movements pretty damn specific. Mm-hmm. So I would have 2 tricep exercises, and you asked me how did I choose them. I chose them by load. I don't want to use light weights because that's not what I do. I lift heavy weights, and so I chose the heaviest exercises that I could for my triceps. And I used 2 exercises. One was I always ended with the JM presses, the so-called, mm-hmm. that would build my tendon strength. Mm-hmm. But my first exercise in the gym was either floor press with the chains with competition grip or pin presses. And occasionally I would use the unloading bands from the top, because that was like a shirt. It was mm-hmm. lighter at the chest and heavier at the top. So again, working that lockout. Very specific.
Yes.
Specific for what I do. So with the chains, as it comes down and more chain weight loads to the floor and unloads the bar, that's like the bench shirt. And then you start driving up, picking link by link by link up, it loads the bar for the hardest portion is where, specifically where I need it, at mm-hmm. the lockout. I needed lockout power. I never failed in the middle. I never failed at the beginning. Every single one of my failures came from a failure to lock out. So I specifically used that as my first exercise for supplemental exercises, or the pin presses. You know, pin presses at a range where I want it very high.
Yeah.
In this case, lockout pin presses.
Did you cycle those? And
yes.
Did you train them, the 6s, the same way that you trained
yes.
everything else?
Yes.
Okay.
I trained the same 6s or 3s, but I didn't have a set schedule to rotate between the chain presses, the chain floor presses, the pin presses, and the unloading. I call them unloading bands. I don't know what you call them today. You probably have a name.
Bands.
Okay, reverse band, same thing, right? You're hanging bands from the top mm-hmm. of a rack, and as it comes down, the band stretches and creates mm-hmm. more tension and takes weight away from you, right? The only problem with that is, Dave, though, the band accelerates. The band pulls back on the weight. It does, where the chains don't do that. They mm-hmm. just they're real weight. They feel right. They feel specific. Mm-hmm. The thing I don't like about the bands is they change the timing, because they accelerate and decelerate. They add tension, which is what you want them for, and that's fine for bodybuilding and sports training and all that stuff. But it'll if you do too much band work, I think you're going to throw off your timing. You have to do the sport specificity. It's interesting that I started with that today, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're sticking with it. I mean, it comes back again and again and again in training. I don't think we've talked this much about training, mm-hmm. right? But I said I really believe in that, and so you're seeing that I'm honest, because I'm showing you that's exactly what I did. I followed that. That's one of the first things they taught me in school. Was this law of sport specificity. You're going to get really good at what you do, what you practice. And so you try to make you practice the way you play. And I say this all the time too. You know, a kid that tells you tell him to hustle up and practice, and he goes, "Don't worry, coach, in the game I'll hustle. This is just practice." Just practice, is it? It's just practice?
I mean, listen, we're talking about practice.
This is exactly what you're going to give me in the game, because this is what you're practicing to do. How are you going to show me hustle in the game when you haven't practiced that? So you play like you practice. Mm-hmm. And so that's the law of sport specificity. And so my exercises, I didn't necessarily have, I can't remember, telling myself when I was going to shift those exercises. So that was more instinctive. I went by feel or by mental fatigue. I'm done with that. I'm done doing that. I want to do something fresher. Now they're always at I never touched a straight bar that wasn't in my competition grip for any exercise. That's not true. I did the jam presses closer, but no pressing exercises that weren't at competition grip. So that those were the leverages and the joint angles that I would be competing with. And so I got really good at it. I got skilled at it because I practiced it. And I got skilled at being a good competitor because I practiced doing competitions. I practiced getting mentally ready. I practiced the timing of how long it takes me to warm up. So I was usually right on time at meets. And so practice, they say practice makes perfect, but I have to put an interjection. If you practice the wrong thing, you'll get better at the wrong thing. So perfect practice makes perfect. And just practicing something, just putting time in is not the answer.
It has to ascendingly become better.
Progressive, and it has to be right.
Yeah.
Or you're practicing the wrong thing, and you're going to get good at doing the wrong thing. You're going to get good at making that mistake. So I'm actually proud of myself here, telling you how I obeyed the law in my own training. I had not thought of that, but
after those things, did you ever do? And this wouldn't be specificity work; it would just be more hypertrophy work. Did you ever do any bodybuilding work after those movements?
No. I would do that in an off season.
Okay.
Which there weren't a lot for me, but that would be no.
So in the off season,
I don't want to recover from bodybuilding. It's hard enough to recover from the loads that I'm putting on my body, and the stress became so great for me and my body that I threw out leg work. I didn't have to do it. I asked myself, why am I doing this? That's just more meat down there and strength that I can't use. And so there was a point in time where I quit doing legs unless it was off season. And that's strange that a little bit of work in the off season kept them perfectly healthy and strong.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.